Castlevania Nocturne is back for a second season, and there are more vampires than you can point a guillotine at. A continuation of the wildly popular Castlevania series, the first season was one of Netflix's most watched shows of 2023. Set against the backdrop of the French Revolution, Season 2 sees our heroes, Richter Belmont, Annette, Maria, and son of Dracula, Alucard, racing against the clock to stop the vampire messiah from plunging the world into perpetual darkness. So, grab your magical whips, meditate into the spirit world, and join us as we sink our teeth into Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. Hello, and welcome to Unhinged, our weekly chat show where we discuss whatever is popping off in pop culture or whatever we're interested in that week, because it's our show and we can do what we want.
That's right.
I'm Alucard, an ancient vampire who gets progressively more pale as I age. It's not wrong.
Life imitates art. And I'm all rocks. Just a fun guy who can turn into a snake from time to time.
Casually.
Yes.
Casual, just,
Yeah.
Which you completely forget about to the last episode of the season. That's fine.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a magical snake?
Well, it's been fun. Gotta go. Unhinged contains adult content.
This podcast does contain adult content.
You've been warned.
You have been warned.
So
Jenny,
okay.
How's it going?
It's going. It has been quite a few weeks for all of us in this country.
I'm glad that we found time to binge season 2 of this fantastic show.
Same. And, just a little shout out. We've got some of our vampire paraphernalia up here. We've got our Buffy, our blessed Buffy votive candle.
We haven't forgotten about our Buffy.
We have not. And stay tuned. There might be some exciting information coming about us talking about Buffy. Who could say?
All sorts of Buffy related stuff. Could be in the works.
Who could possibly say? And if you've been listening and watching, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you may have noticed we have a penchant for talking about vampire-related properties. We talked about Interview with a Vampire on AMC Plus. Ever heard of it? We did 2 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We talked about Nosferatu. Am I missing anything? Are there any other vampire properties we've discussed? True Blood. We did an episode on True Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like a vampire story here at Unhinged.
We do.
Yeah, probably because they're usually unhinged in some form or fashion.
But it's not always vampires or witches or fairies or all the other supernatural fantasy stuff.
We talk about a lot of things on this podcast, and you can listen and watch as we talk about so many things on youtube.com/oncemorepodcast. Spotify, you can also watch podcast at spotify.com/oncemorepodcast. Keep it on their minds.
I did have a good weekend. Thank you for asking. I watched.
What did you watch this weekend?
The Oscars are around the corner.
Are they?
We're going to watch the Oscars, and we're going to do an episode that covers the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
So
are the BAFTAs before the Oscars?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So stay tuned for more award seasons. We already covered the Golden Globes Award. The Golden Globe Awards. Damn it. I'm never going to get it right, and I don't care.
Live your life.
New Brassfuls.
Okay, sorry.
So I watched 2 Oscar-nominated contenders.
Okay, what'd you watch?
I watched The Conclave.
I really want to watch that.
I have to say, this is one of the best films that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
I understand the subject matter. We're probably centuries of being disgusted and tired of. However, Ray Fiennes, Isabella Rossellini, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, just an all-star cast. And it was phenomenally written, directed, the cinematography, the soundtrack, the costuming. It is one of the most beautiful, well-written and well-acted films I've ever seen, and a top contender for this year's awards. It is nominated in some categories. And the other film that I watched was The Substance.
I don't know if I can watch that. I've seen a few clips, like more and more images and clips from the movie on social media, and I think it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah. I gotta say, Demi Moore's performance, how that character is written and how she completely becomes unhinged and comes unglued and literally comes apart is extraordinary. I understand now why she's nominated, and I fully endorse her nomination.
Because she won a Golden Globe, right?
She did. She won Best Actress?
I think so.
Yeah. So I would understand if she wins again, because her performance and portrayal of this character who is struggling with so many demons and resorting to, some pretty far out stuff. It gets a little outlandish. It gets very unhinged, extremely gory, and you know me, I can handle a lot of stuff. I love horror flicks, and like none of that really seems to bother me much, but I was disturbed after watching this film, and I think that's the point.
I think it's the point from what I've heard,
for it to be very disturbing in so many ways. So anyway, those are the two Oscar contenders that I watched this weekend. Came away from both of them with completely different perspectives, but I understand why both of them are nominated, and I'm going to try to catch a few more of the Oscar performances before we actually
watch and cover.
Before we watch and cover it.
Yeah, I'd like to do the same. I really like to watch Conclave.
I think you'd love it, and I think Chase would love it.
I want to watch Emilia Perez, but I also don't want to watch Emilia Perez.
I'll start it. I really don't think I'm going to be able to finish it. It seems to be really all over the place. And I don't know if I can handle that.
No. What I can handle is an amazing animated show about vampires and magic.
That's great.
Yeah. So should we get into it?
Yeah. Have you watched any of the award stuff? Sorry.
I mean, I've seen Wicked. Yeah. I've seen, what else is nominated? I don't know. I'd have to look again. Like, I haven't seen The Brutalist. I haven't seen the one with Jesse Eisenberg.
Is Nosferatu nominated, or is that for next year? Okay.
No. The Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin one.
I saw that as well. Yeah. That was very deep.
That's on my list.
Very profound and deep, but it's somber, especially for the time that we're in right now.
That's part of the reason why I don't want to watch The Brutalist. I mean, it's 3 hours.
I'm going to watch that.
I read about it on Wikipedia, so I've spoiled myself on everything. I don't know if that's going to be for me right now.
I was going to watch it last night after I had dinner. I thought, hey, I'm just going to see what screenings are available for it. And Draft House had a 10 p.m., but they were already sold out.
Yeah.
And there was one at another theater that started in 10 minutes, and I couldn't get there, but I certainly do want to see it. I'm guessing it's going to come to streaming before award season.
I would be shocked
finished,
if it didn't. Yeah.
So I might just wait for it to hit streaming before I watch it. 3 hours in a theater is a lot.
It's a long time.
If I'm going to do 3 hours, I'd like to be able to pause it.
Be comfy.
Go to the bathroom, get something to eat, and come back.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jenny,
let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, you know what we have both binged over the weekend?
Do tell.
Is a lovely Netflix animated series, season 2 of Castlevania Nocturne.
We sure did. So, as always, this is Unhinged. Not only do we get unhinged about what we talk about, we spoil stuff. So, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen Castlevania, the 4 seasons of that show, Castlevania Nocturne season 1, or Castlevania Nocturne season 2, we're going to talk probably about things that happen in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, proceed with caution. Thanks for listening and watching. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about Castlevania Nocturne, Castlevania. I mean, they're animated shows, Netflix produced. What do you got?
Yeah. We love a good adult animated series, and Netflix has really been cranking them out with their anime series. Their whole production line seems great. Obviously, we are massive Blood of Zeus fans.
Yes, we did a whole episode on Blood of Zeus season 2.
Check it out. We're going to do an upcoming episode for season 3, which is set to premiere in the spring-summer of 2025. So Castlevania Nocturne is an American adult animated dark fantasy action television series. That's very descriptive.
Yeah.
Created and written by Clive Bradley and directed by Sam and Adam Dietz for Netflix.
Yes.
A sequel to Castlevania's animated series. It's based on the video game series of the same name by Konami.
Yes, and apparently I talked to our pal Curtis. Shout out Curtis.
Cool.
He knows a bit about the game. So I don't know what your video game history is, but I used to play like Nintendo 64, Mario Kart. I did get really into the PlayStation versions of the Lord of the Rings game. PlayStation. Yeah. Loved that. But I did I have no knowledge of the Castlevania video games, but they've been around since the early 90s, I think.
I think the last video game I played was GoldenEye.
007 on the N64.
Only video game console I've ever owned is an original NES Nintendo system with Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Paperboy, just so many other fun games that we used to play on the Nintendo.
I remember when you told me about Castlevania, which I'll, we'll kind of give some background. Ryan will give some background on that show, but you watched it, I think, during 2020, right? Like when we were all quarantining, and I can't remember which one I watched first. Did I watch Blood of Zeus first? And then you were like, okay, you like it, go to watch Castlevania.
It's possible. We kind of watched these back to back, and I may have it wrong. I may have watched Blood of Zeus first, but I think I watched Castlevania first and got through it and was like, holy moly. This is actually, no, you're right. We did watch Blood of Zeus first.
I think we watched
and then
Blood
we
of
were
Zeus
hungry for something very similar to that. And then that's how we got on Castlevania. And we were like, hold on a second. Great anime, sexy vampires, great writing, beautiful effects and soundtracks.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. So it kind of really left us wanting a bit more.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about the game. I'd heard of it, but I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, knew nothing about it until you were like, hey, we, like you said, we loved Blood of Zeus. Let's go into this. And
we love vampires.
Love vampires. Yeah. The 4th season came out in 2021. So we were still in our homes, basically. Yeah. I loved it. I mean, Graham McTavish voices Dracula in that series. And I love Graham McTavish. I have loved him since he was Dougal Mackenzie in Outlander. Graham, if you're listening,
come on the podcast. Pal,
you're phenomenal. So love him and Sam Heughan's show where they're traipsing about the world. And
I love his social media account, but
he's great.
But I do believe that his voice acting with Dracula on
amazing
Castlevania was just amazing. So this series is a sequel, but not.
It's not a direct sequel.
Right. It's more really a spin-off of the Castlevania series, which had, as you mentioned, 4 seasons from 2017 to 2021. Set in 1792 during the French Revolution, which when this Nocturne came out and I started watching it, I was like, vampires and the French Revolution.
Done.
Jenny is done.
I'm done. I'm in.
Put a stake in her. She's out of here.
And this season came out in 23. The season 1 of Castlevania Nocturne.
Yeah. So the series follows a young vampire hunter, which is Richter Belmont. He is descended from Trevor Belmont, which if you watched Castlevania, you might remember that character, and revolutionaries Annette and Edward. And they're attempting to prevent the apocalyptic rise of a godlike vampire messiah who wants to send the world into perpetual darkness. I mean, it's just like a perfect setup.
It's great. Yeah.
Lots of fighty kick.
Lots of fighty kick. Yeah. But it's great. I mean,
it's witty. It's clever. It's sharp.
The animation I've already mentioned is stunning. Yeah.
Animation and effects. It blows my mind how with computer animation, with anime, you can have such realistic and ethereal effects.
Yeah.
That take your breath away. I mean, it's beautiful art.
I agree. When I first started watching Nocturne season 1, I think you had already finished the season, you and another friend of ours. And I was kind of like, I was being a little sour because I loved Castlevania. I loved Trevor and Sypha and Alucard, and I don't want to get to know anybody else. I want to be with these people.
I love that season with Alucard when he's got the
twins or the siblings.
The twins as his plaything. So
well,
it's fantastic.
He's great. But anyway, but I was hooked because in the first sequence of episode 1 of the first, season 1 of Nocturne is little Richter and his mother escaping, and they're confronted by this snake vampire who's like hot with this long hair, his bright green eyes, and a jaunty earring. And we find out his name is Olrox. He's coming after Julia Belmont, who's a descendant of Richter, or I'm sorry, of Trevor and Sypha, and she has killed his lover, and he kills her in front of Richter, and Richter's a small boy, and he says, I'll kill you one day, Richter, not today though. Then we jump forward in time, 1792. Richter's living with his adoptive family, Tara and Maria Renard. They have magic, and you're just thrown into this world, but you already kind of know a little bit about it because of Castlevania, the other show, and I was hooked. I blew through the first season.
It's a beautiful world of magic and superstition.
Yeah.
And again, one of the things that I think that we love most about Vampire Chronicles and series and universes is that there really are no rules.
There's no rules, and that's fucking amazing.
You can do anything with that. And so that can really lead to some great writing, and it can also lead to some really bad hypothetical situations. So I love that this series, explores all these different realms, from magic to vampires to demons and the church and the occult, different realms of heaven and hell and
where they pull their magic from,
and the in-between and ancestral realms. Anyway, it's beautiful. I also love that no two characters, with the exception of some demons, are really alike. And the way that the characters are scripted is, to me, part of what makes this show so alluring. You have characters that are very fluid in their gender, and you're like, wait, what are they? And it's like, well, who cares? It's just like a really fun character. They may be more masculine, they may be more feminine. I don't know. I liked that, especially with Alucard and Olrox. I think that both of them are just fantastic, kind of fluid characters. There's
definitely fluid sexually. They present very masculine, but
they do.
But again,
not fully.
They've got the long hair.
They do the earrings. Like, you don't know what's going on underneath that suit. It looks great.
I love it. And like you said, the thing about vampire stories, whether animated or not, is I love it when they kind of honor I don't know if tradition is the right word, but just the vampire lore of like anything goes.
Yeah.
I like men, I like women, I like whoever, whatever, like let's have fun. Olrox and Mizrak, excuse me, their story is very, I think it's lovely because it's, it's star-crossed, it's forbidden. You've got, he's not a monk, but he's like a soldier of God.
Yeah.
Who's having this, thing with a vampire who's the embodiment of the devil. And everybody in this show, all these characters have some form of trauma.
They do.
And I feel like one of the things I want to shout out with the writing is it's realistic that they're all affected by their trauma, but they're processing it. It doesn't always feel like it's, in some shows and properties, that get swept under the rug. It's always kind of there.
Yeah.
And
everyone kind of gets their own episode for all of that to develop and come out, or it happens over the span of a few episodes, and it's all very tastefully done. And you've got this group of people who are really just kind of thrown together, who may even have some differences, learning how they can be respectful of one another, how they can get along to fight for a common, cause, which is to save the world from eternal damnation.
Which I love the inclusion of Ursabet Bathory, which some people, the anglicized Elizabeth Bathory. She was allegedly not a vampire, but a serial killer from Transylvania, that region of Eastern Europe, who murdered a lot of young men and women and bathed in their blood and like got into some really weird shit. And a lot of it is lore, but there's also some historical documentation of this woman in this castle. Like, Ursabet Bathory was a real person. Whether she did all these things, who could say? I liked the inclusion of her as this evil vampire that they're going to, imbue with the soul of Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess of war and healing, and who's going to block out the sun and make it basically a vampire free-for-all. I mean, that to me is absolutely a plot that like Spike would probably get into on Buffy before he changes his ways. But and Ursabet as a vampire is so evil and so scary.
Very.
And her animation, I mean, she's this like 7'5" giant with red hair, and it's so compelling. It's a compelling animated show. And I think I said this on our episode where we talked about Blood of Zeus. I kind of wrote off animated shows for adults, and I'm so happy to report I am very wrong.
I was talking to my trainer about that today. He was like, wow, he said, this series sounds like it's really good. And I said, yeah, similar to Blood of Zeus, I never expected in my mid-40s that I'd be watching adult animated cartoons.
Love it.
He and I are the same age, and he said, he made the point, and we talked about the fact that we are of that generation that grew up with cartoons.
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons, after school cartoons.
Yeah.
So, there shouldn't be any shame about us watching things that we've kind of been conditioned to watch.
Yeah.
For all of our lives, but in a context that is more adult, formulaic, and in a tone that you can process and understand. And it's fantastic. Right. I love this series and what Netflix is doing with the animated series right now.
I agree.
I think it's great.
You just made such a great point. It's like, I feel like cartoons were in a few boxes for me. It was kid stuff,
right?
Or it's like the Family Guy, Simpsons, where it's looking like it's packaged for kids and it's like lampooning. It's not getting into like sexual stuff or blood or gore. And then I watched Sailor Moon as a kid, but sometimes some of those animes were so steeped in like lore and like very particular to Japan and where they came from. It felt almost hard for me to really grasp.
Hard for me to grasp.
This,
I didn't get into
it's adult stories, but it just happens to be animated, and I'm very here for it.
Yeah, it's visually stunning, and it's written in such a way and directed, and really congratulations to the showrunners. They've done an excellent job with Castlevania and also with Castlevania Nocturne. Yeah. I think that this was a great follow-up to season 1. I'm really happy that they brought Drolta back because she was one of my favorite characters, and hot, respectfully. And I was so happy when they brought that character back. How do you kill off someone that everyone loves to hate? And they did a fantastic job. So thank you for giving the fans what they wanted. And she ended up playing a superior role. We won't spoil anything for those who want to watch. But, she really steals the show. I love her attitude. I love that character just in general. I'm so glad that they brought her back because it really helped balance the scales of this.
I see what you did there.
This good versus evil.
I agree with the note that I feel like
I love that pink hair.
She's her design, the character design is great.
Phenomenal.
And I loved getting to learn more about her this season. We knew she was a priestess of Sekhmet, but she gets time in an episode where you flash back to when she was human. We go back to ancient Egypt and
more of that.
That's the spinoff I want. Like, I want ancient Egyptian.
You are going to love the Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. I can't wait. Follow-ups to Interview the Vampire.
I just loved that backstory. My note is, I wish they would have she is killed at the end of season 1 by our boy Alucard, who shows up at the end of season 1 to kind of save the day,
which was the best cameo appearance after watching Castlevania, and you just wanted more of him and Dracula, and we knew that we weren't going to get it, but hold on.
But wait,
he's back.
He's
eternal
and paler than ever. I wish they would have, when she is resurrected, had her then be like, now I'm taking the power from Ursabet.
It would have been a perfect time.
And that she would have been this other antagonist, and Ursabet is fighting two fronts. Drolt is fighting two fronts. Our heroes are fighting two fronts.
Yeah.
I didn't like at the end where she's like, it was me all along. And it's like, you could have done this. We wasted all this fighty kick.
It was the old French skidoo.
Le Français skidoo.
They got us.
They got us, gals.
So the show's not without notes.
It's not. We always have notes.
We had some. Really, the last 2 episodes I felt could have been packaged up a bit tighter.
Yeah, they gave so much air and space to some of the other stuff, like the romance between Richter and Annette, beautiful. But then some other stuff they were like,
where was the build up to that?
I felt like there was, yeah. They a little bit at the end of season 1, and then season 2 kind of back and forth, and then she's in trouble, and then he realized, I like the scene with Alucard and him where Alucard's like, just tell her, just say it, and he's all stumbling, and he's like, listen, I've been around for a long time, like I know what I'm talking about, blah blah blah, and then Richter like is passed out. But
I want to have coffee with Alucard.
Let's talk about Alucard.
Yeah.
He's voiced by James Callis.
Love it.
Jimmy.
Come on the show, bud.
Love Alucard in season 1 because he is caught in the rock in a hard place.
He's got daddy issues.
He's got to kill his dad.
Major daddy issues.
And he's what's known as a Dhampir, which is...
And mom issues.
Yeah. He's half... His mother was human and his father was a vampire. So he gets... he's living his best life. He gets to be out in the sun.
Yeah.
He can eat food. He doesn't need to sleep. He still has to have blood, I believe, but
he can get stabbed and survived. I don't know what's going on with all that.
He pulls that out of his heart.
It's fast and loose, and maybe there is some game lore that we don't know about.
Maybe
we're missing it, but we're just going based upon the show and what we saw.
Joel just stabs him with the sword
with his sword, right?
Yes, because he removes it and gives it to Richter, who's all of a sudden
He-Man. By the power of Great Skull, he holds up this massive sword
and cuts through a building.
Not just the demon in front of him, but somehow that sword makes it all the way across the plaza.
You mean the place? Yes. Is that how you say it in French? Place de Vosges?
Yeah, the square.
Oui. I want to say, though, James, if you're listening, why aren't you on the call map? I want Alucard reading me a bedtime story.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on. I do have a question we were talking about when we watched the last episode together. Alucard has had a bit of a change.
Yeah, I don't think he's really had enough sun. Not that I guess a vampire can get very much sun, but somehow his coloring has gone quite pale.
He's like the color of the wall. And someone put this on Reddit, so I want to give them credit. They showed like a season 1 Alucard and season 2. Like he went from looking like a Greek god to a K-pop idol, which because he did like all of his features have gotten smaller. Yeah. His hair is white, his skin is white. He's got like jaunty silver threads through, which it looks great. Is it vampire lore in the game that like as you age,
like you shift your coloring? Good question.
Is it because he's half human?
Yeah, he was super pale.
Like, write in, let us know.
Like in your like obvious, like you couldn't watch it and not think to yourself, wow, man.
Did they forget to color him in? Like, what's going on?
Like white out. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
But we love that character.
We love that character. I really grew to love Richter.
Yeah.
At first I was like, I want Trevor and Sypha.
Yeah.
But I really grew to love them. And I loved Edouard.
I'm glad. Yeah. I'm glad that they brought back the Belmont lineage and that whole line of things that are going on. I love those characters. I love the idea of the Belmonts, kind of sort of like the Van Helsings, where they're a family. It's in their lineage to fight the forces of darkness. You know, Buffy would love them.
She would. Buffy Belmont.
Buffy Belmont.
That's what we want. Give us
if that's the
Buffy.
Crossover we need.
Please. Could you imagine Sarah Michelle Gellar voicing?
Fanfic. You're great at writing that, and your two characters are in France right now, so they
could meet up with Alucard.
Maybe they run into a Belmont and Alucard.
Now that's a scene.
I can see old Spike and Alucard having tying one on and
talk about buildings crumbling,
tying each other up.
Yeah, I do like they continue the I guess thread from season 1 that Alucard has still been involved with the Belmont family.
Yes.
You know. We meet the character of Juste Belmont, who is Richter's grandfather, who voiced by Ian Glenn. Shout out Jorah fucking Mormont. Great voice acting. The design of Juste is great too. He's hot.
He's hot.
Got great hair.
I mean, when I'm a grandfather, I hope I look that good.
Listen.
I'm working on it.
You need to grow your hair out and dye it white.
It's growing and it's getting there.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
So he's great. And there's a scene at the very end of the season where he's talking to Alucard and he's like, where were you my whole life? Like my father and grandfather.
That was so sweet.
Talked about Alucard like he was, you were some favorite uncle. I only met you once when I was 14 for 3 days. Now they make some jokes, but then Alucard kind of says, I was tired of Belmont's dying.
And it is such great writing that they carry that through line through from an entire different series based upon, this one. And carry that through and then give the fans those little nuggets, moments of camaraderie and friendship between, a monster hunter and an actual monster.
It's great.
It was very touching and I'm here for that.
Yeah, it was a great mirror to season 1 where Alucard, he's awoken, right, by Trevor and Sypha. And they have their 3 like camaraderie. And it's different because in that he's definitely older than Trevor and Sypha. But they seem more like peers.
Yeah.
And then this go around, he's like kind of the curmudgeon-y old guy with Richter and Annette.
Yeah.
And it's just, I really enjoyed it.
Love that character.
I do too. And another character you already touched on that you loved this season that we both loved. Olrox, voiced by the incomparable Zahn McClarnon, who's been in a lot. Yeah. So he's an Indigenous actor. He's been in a lot. Fargo, Westworld, Dark Winds, Reservation Dogs. He was in Hawkeye and Echo in the MCU on the TV shows. Okay, yeah, he plays Echo's father. I won't spoil any other properties we're already in, but he's been in the business for a long time. He's brilliant. His voice acting as Olrox. Also another person I want to nominate for the Call Map.
Yeah.
So good.
And another vampire that I'm like, hey, we'd hang out if we were vamps. I like his energy. Again, he's kind of there to observe what's happening without getting too involved. Yeah. He clearly has a soft place in his heart for humans and for one human in particular.
Not as much as an Alucard. Like he will kill without thinking twice.
Absolutely. But you can see that he's watching what's unfolding.
He doesn't want
to, like, this is not going to go well for any of us.
Correct.
And I think that he observes as much as he can and then realizes that he has a bigger role that he can play. And I do wish that perhaps we would have seen a bit more from this character.
And I love his background. I want kind of a spinoff of Olrox's backstory. He's an Aztec.
I do too.
We find out he was turned when the Spanish came to the Americas. Yeah. He fell in love with, a Mohican indigenous person. Julia Belmont killed him. I want to know more about Olrox, and I want to shout out, or I want to draw attention to the portrayal of characters of color in this show. Again, I'm speaking from a position of not a person of color. So please correct me or, offer. It felt like they were showing characters of color who were strong and powerful and had lots of agency.
Yes.
And the inclusion of, Annette and her connection to her ancestors with the spirit world, like, from Saint-Domingue, but a lot of those people who were brought to Saint-Domingue as slaves have African roots, and the Yoruba culture, I think, is mentioned. I thought it was great to see that, to include these characters. And Annette, I love Annette. As much as I love Buffy, later on in seasons, I'm like, Buffy, that is not the outfit you go out fighting vampires in, my dude. Dress cool, but like, let's be practical. Mm-hmm. Annette's wearing like pants and boots. And she's got her magic, and I love it. I just really appreciate when you have characters of color in your show, giving them just agency and inclusion. And I just really enjoyed the inclusion of different backgrounds and different magical realms and grounding that in a character of color, like Annette and Olrox. And I really want the Olrox Aztec spinoff show, please and thank you.
I think that'd be phenomenal, or at least, for season 3 to explore that backstory a little bit more.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to speculate or just say what we want from a season 3. Like because what I read, it's not been announced, but they're going to do.
They have to.
But it's not, they're going to do another time jump.
Oh, okay.
So
that's okay.
Yeah, I want to.
We'll see where we end up.
Yeah.
Some things that I hope that they carry over into season 3 would be the phenomenal soundtrack that blends beautiful classical art music into this fantasy world. That was great. Someone who studied music and recognized immediately from episode 1 a song that I actually sang at a recital. I think it just adds a layer of depth to this world and to this creative content that I think that we need in the world. And I love when, modern takes on classical music just fit.
Yeah. I loved how I don't know if I fully loved it. I was really intrigued by the journey of Edouard, who is singing these songs most of the time. Mm-hmm. He's this mixed race singer on Saint-Domingue. He comes to France with Annette because they've had a vision that there's going to be the vampire messiah, and they've got to go find Richter and Maria. And he's killed in the first episode he's in, first or second, and then he's taken by the abbot, which fuck that guy. I'm glad he's dead. When Maria killed him with her dragon, I was like,
so great. Yeah. Bye.
Won't shed a tear over here.
Yeah.
The abbot turns Edouard into a night creature because the abbot is a forge master. And, they, instead of making him, they could have gone one way where he was a complete monster and Annette has to face off with him and Annette has to kill him. But he remembers who he is. He sings, he rallies the other night creatures.
Yeah. He's this soft character in this very hard, dark world. And I think you really need that. And I think that's what this show does. This show is so fantastic at blending all of these beautiful elements together to create just a spectacular, breathtaking show.
Agreed. And I really hope we get more from this universe. Please, Netflix. Thank you so much. You just announced that Empress season 3 is coming. So let's get a Castlevania announcement. Thanks so much.
Let's do it for sure. Jenny, I'd love to talk more about Castlevania Nocturne, but we only have a limited amount of time.
We do.
What is unhinged in this week's episode?
Okay, so
what has been unhinged for weeks?
To quote Rose Dawson from Titanic, it's been 84 years. We are going to do a follow-up to the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively lawsuits. We recognize when our episode came out a couple weeks ago where we talked about it, so much has happened since then.
Yes, and we acknowledged during that episode that this situation is fluid, that there's more information that's being revealed day by day, week by week. And sure enough, we were right. As we predicted, there has been some more development since the last time we spoke about this unhinged topic. What is the latest in the Baldoni Lively feud?
So before I regale you all, we want to do...
Is this going to be an FX series someday?
It's going to be... Mavish and I have already talked about that. It's going to be Hallmark movie, Lifetime. It's going to be like Ryan Murphy, OJ versus the People or whatever. It's going to be Baldoni versus Lively.
Oh my God.
You know that's coming. Ryan Murphy's going to be all over it.
Ryan Reynolds is going to produce it and write it.
He's going to star in both roles.
Star in it, bring back Deadpool.
So we want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. We are not lawyers.
We don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
We are not here to take sides.
We are not.
At this point, we are here to just present the information that is out and discuss and disseminate.
Here's what we know.
And, that's it.
And it is unhinged because there is so much content being produced by amateur content creators, which is great. We love TikTok and we love
TikTok's where we're getting a lot of our real news.
And had we not had people who are reading between the lines and helping to unpack some of this stuff, we wouldn't be as informed as we are. So we're grateful for that.
Yes, we are.
However, there's a lot to sift through.
Yeah, one of the layers of this case is the PR spin, what goes on behind closed doors in Hollywood and the machinations of image. So
here we go.
Since we last recorded, Justin Baldoni has not only sued the New York Times, he has sued Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And I went through some of the documents. I want to shout out our friend and guest of the pod, Mavish, who has sent me a lot of content creators on TikTok who have been dissecting the lawsuits in a unbiased manner. Because like you said, there are a lot of biases out there. So you have to be careful.
And a lot of conspiracy.
Which is
just
I got to be honest. I'm not here to get into the Ryan Reynolds jealous of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's chemistry. We're just talking about the lawsuits and the information that's been released. So he has sued them. And in his suits, he has said that the New York Times cherry-picked communications and did not give them proper time to respond to the story. They said, we're going to publish this at 12. If you have a comment, you have to do it before 12. Well, then the New York Times released it at 10 a.m. instead of noon. In the lawsuit with Blake Lively, he is more or less, I'm condensing, accusing them of, basically exerting influence over the film, his direction, his vision, bullying him, a smear campaign against him, and it's retaliation for her own actions in regards to having Ryan Reynolds like rewrite scenes, her trying to get an executive producer credit, and her getting a lot of negative pushback on how she marketed the film, etc. He has released text messages that the New York Times alludes to in more context, that unless his team has doctored all of it, it does look like the New York Times cherry picked what they.
Sure. Well, and I think in defense of, the press and the media, you can't fit everything into
it's a very good point.
A one-page, article or however many words that they are.
Right.
So you've got to go for the content that is going to be probably maybe the most as accurate, should be as accurate and fair as possible. But you're also going to be looking for things that are going to stand out.
Yes.
And might be sensationalized.
And in his suit, he provides lots of documentation, text messages, emails, conversations with him and Blake Lively, alluding to some of the things she brings up that at best, okay, I'm going to give another disclaimer. Women historically have had to work in hostile work environments, have been sexually harassed, sexually assaulted. That's fact. Okay. The fact, like statistically, it is very low that women lie about these things. So as I said in the beginning, we're not trying to take sides, but based off of the documentation, looks like she either maybe misconstrued some of these situations at best or is outright manipulating situations at worst. There's too much there at this point, I think, to say he's absolutely fully guilty.
Right.
Could she have been made uncomfortable and harassed? Absolutely.
Sure, I believe that.
But could it have also been now she's on the back end of a really bad year for her image and is maybe looking for things that didn't quite happen that way?
Yeah.
Could be.
I really hope not.
I do too.
Because, that's kind of where we get into this whole topic of, victim blaming or shaming.
Yeah.
And, it leads to people, they see situations like this. And even if it's true, they're thinking, why would I step up?
That's it.
Why would I say something? And that's where I think is the real crime. And
I
all
agree.
of this is that it's so muddy and so complicated. And so this is where it really gets tough for us. We've had this conversation a couple of times talking about how unhinged
on mic and off mic
this topic is that, we felt really bad jumping to conclusions one way and then jumping to conclusions the other. And now we're looking at it and it's like, oh my gosh, what a cluster.
What a cluster.
I don't know. It's just so tough.
It is. And
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. And as somebody who has been a victim, and I hate to use that word, but this whole thing has been triggering. And my default, and we've talked about this, is to always believe women. And I want to, but I have to also be honest with myself and reading and engaging with some of the things I have. It gives me pause as to what really happened. Yeah. And I'm going off of his lawsuit. This is not, again, I'm not getting into the conspiracy theory stuff of it.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that one of the communications that's released in his lawsuit is a text message where he asks, can I come to the trailer to run lines? She said, yeah, I'm pumping. And he's like, okay, whatever. And one of the complaints she said in her suit was that he would come into her trailer while she was breastfeeding or pumping. Now, could it be true that one time she invited him in while she was pumping? Right.
And the other time he just showed up. Yeah.
That's where I'm saying, all these things can be true.
Right.
One the other, things that have come out is his side, I don't want to say his team released a text exchange where Blake Lively is talking about Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift as having rewritten part of a scene in the movie. And she refers to them as her dragons, and she is Khaleesi. It's cringy. I'm sorry. I have to say it. It's cringy. The waters seem muddy.
It's super muddy. And then you're dragging in a star like Taylor Swift. I mean, that's just immediately going to catch headlines.
Yes.
And,
she won't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
What did Blake say to you?
Yeah.
And anyway, it just seems very complicated. It's all completely unhinged.
It's completely unhinged. And then another bit that's unhinged, two things. One is the nice pool of it all. This is not a conspiracy theory, in my opinion, because you look at it, it seems pretty telling. could be a coincidence. I'm not in the room.
What is that? Explain that to our listeners.
So do you remember, little known film known as Deadpool and Wolverine? In the film, do you remember there's Nice Pool, the guy with the long hair and the bun who they encounter?
Yes.
So I watched this content creator kind of break down the Nice Pool of it all.
Which is?
That this character makes a lot of comments that Justin Baldoni has made on various podcasts.
Oh. So
like he says, it's okay, I can say this, I'm a feminist.
This creator is alluding to the fact that there may have been some poking or prodding from Reynolds at Baldoni's.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Because one of the things that Blake Lively is bringing up is she felt fat shamed. She felt body shamed after having a baby. One of the things that Deadpool said, or Nice Pool says is, wait till you meet Lady Pool. She just had a baby and she just snapped back. There's a lot of things that kind of match up.
Yeah.
This could be conspiracy theory. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but
oh, how catty if it's true.
It just seems very petty. There's a couple other things, like Lady Pool shoots Nice Pool down in front of a flower shop, which is the setting of
right.
It Ends With Us, basically.
Oh gosh, do these people not have better things to do with their time and money in Hollywood?
So that's another thing that's super unhinged. When I first saw that, I was like, that's too much of a coincidence. But the more I look at it compared to the things she says, and Justin Baldoni has, is known for being an ally, a feminist. He's trying to reclaim masculinity, make it less toxic.
Yes.
You can see it. The other thing, as of this recording, today is January 28th. On January 27th, Justin Baldoni's team released a 9-minute voice memo.
Oh, yes.
That Justin Baldoni sent Blake Lively at 2 a.m. And it seems that he basically didn't respond well when she talked about her script rewrites. And he's apologizing for it. And I'm laughing because everybody's like, he sounds like Joe from You. Can't unhear it now.
No. That just makes the situation worse.
I mean, he's got a good voice. I'll say that. But
he does.
Some of it is a little it's a little cringy, but he's apologizing. And he is, saying, I think that's amazing that you've got two friends, or you've got people like Ryan and Taylor. I don't think he says Taylor, but that's who they're talking about, who lift you up and support you. And my wife will tell you I'm the first to fuck up and I'm not perfect. And he's apologizing. And then he basically says, give Ryan my love. Sorry, I know you've got kids probably crawling all over you and a baby on your boob. And you don't want to listen to this at this time. It just kind of alludes. I mean, it just, again, when I first saw that he released a voice memo, I was like,
God, what could it be?
What could it be?
But it seems to go against some of the accusations that were made.
Yes.
Because you get to hear him in his tone of voice during that time period.
Yeah.
And how, understanding he seems to sound toward her concerns and some of the issues that she is raising with him as the director / producer. And
he was director, and his company produced it. Yes.
And he doesn't make fun of the dragon comment. He says, that's great, I love that for you. I love that you have people like that in your life.
Is nice to Ryan.
He's like, you're Ryan my best, right?
That's why this is so unhinged.
It is, because
so many things could be true. Again,
he could be a good actor.
He could be acting. I have experienced situations with somebody who was like, oh, I'm so sorry if I did this and this, but then would later repeat behavior. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what to believe anymore, to be honest. I know Ryan and Blake Lively tried to have a gag order placed on Justin Baldoni's team. The judge denied it. It's messy. It's messy.
It's Hollywood messy.
And I said this to Mav, I think this will be studied in law school. This case is just
where we can really unpack this once we know more. If we can,
they've set a court date.
If the truth is ever revealed, and we understand in Hollywood that sometimes the truth isn't. Sometimes it's about who your lawyer is and who and how you can spin it and so on and so forth. So we may not ever find out the truth. So we have to read between the lines as much as we can. And this is where I was uncomfortable having too much conversation about this, because there's so much speculation out there. We've already got the whiplash of blame him, blame her, blame him. And, it's back and forth that we may not ever know. But I hope that we're able to take something away from this that makes it safer for people in these situations on both sides where everyone is a bit more accountable for what they say and for what their actions are and how what they do can impact others that they're working with, whether it's professional or in whatever type of relationships that you might have in your life. I think that's the takeaway from this.
Yeah. I think at this point we can provide updates as it comes, but it's gonna be litigated.
Yeah. If there's some big updates that are like that's completely unhinged, we'll keep you updated.
We will. So we hear you. And if you're listening to this in a few days, like I said, it's the 28th. When this comes out, it might be the 30th. If something between then and now comes up, we've already recorded it. We're so sorry.
Yeah.
Don't yell at us.
Okay. Thank you for listening to Unhinged. These episodes come out weekly. You can watch and listen on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Google Play.
You sure can. For more unhinged content, please follow us on social media if you're not already. We are at Once More Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Kind of.
Maybe Blue Sky coming up.
Say, maybe knows? Red Note. Don't know.
I can't.
Yeah. Unhinged is produced by us. I'm an ancient vampire. Gotta go.
Same here.
I'm also Jen Katz.
And Ryan something. Bye.